Hello, and welcome to my presentation of Troubleshooting, a Systematic Approach. My name is Philip Messina of the University of New England. Prescribing medicine is an important part of clinical treatment and one of the most critical components of a patient's recovery. Problems with e-prescribing can delay the delivery of life-saving medication and must be corrected quickly and efficiently. To do this, we follow a systematic approach consisting of these four distinct steps that help achieve resolution of the problem. First, we use identification to determine what the problem is. Secondly, we generate possible causes of the problem or problems. Thirdly, we determine the specific nature of the problem. Finally, we confirm that the solution we devise will result in the resolution of the problems. An error message has been generated in our example. All three lines of the error message point to e-prescribing as being the source of the error. The error messages also point to the problem being internal to the message itself and not related to the system's configuration. The first line references PVD, which is the three-character identifier for a provider, either the prescribing or the pharmacy itself, on an NCP-DP segment. The second line refers to Schedule I not allowed, which indicates that it is not legal to prescribe a Schedule I drug. Use of the term formulary on line 3 refers to the allowed list of drugs. The evidence clearly points to the content of the NCP-DP segment as being the problem. Note that NCP-DP refers to the National Council for Prescription Drug Programs, and HL7 refers to the Health Level 7 International, both of which are standard makers of healthcare transactions. In transactional processing, it is sometimes the case that an error early in the processing of a transaction will result in a cascade of other errors. These subsequent resultant errors may be false positives in the sense that they would not have occurred had the transaction processor been able to reconcile the initial error. An example of this would be a transaction that is dependent on Social Security number. If the SSN on the transaction is 1234K6789, then that would generate an error such as SSN format incorrect. It may also generate a subsequent error such as member not found, or member is not eligible for services. These subsequent resultant errors only occurred because the SSN was bad to begin with, and the system could not find the member. In our example, it is conceivable that the first error caused such a cascade, and that the following two errors are false positives. However, there are definite clues that show this is not the case. First, the initial error points to the PVD segment, which is for a provider, while the two other errors are related to the prescribed medication. Since it is likely that the provider segment and the medication segment are processed separately, it is unlikely that the last two errors resulted from the first error. Since the last two errors both refer to the medication, it is likely that they refer to the medication segment of the transaction. The implication of our research is that the first error should be treated as separate and distinct from the subsequent two errors. Based on the text in the first error message, incorrect PVD format, it is likely that there is some error in the format of one of the fields in the PVD or provider segment of the transaction. The text of the next two error messages, Schedule I not allowed and not in formulary, both refer to the DRU, or medication segment. Schedule I not allowed is a message indicating that the drug in the transaction is a Schedule I substance, such as LSD, that has no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. DOJ controls substance schedules. Not in formulary indicates that the drug is not part of the institution's approved list of drugs that can be prescribed. Finally, we come to the confirmation phase. To fix these errors, the first thing we would have to do is correct the PVD segment of the transaction. Review each field and ensure that it aligns to the NCPDP standard for a PVD segment. To correct the second error, we would communicate to the prescribing provider that he or she must prescribe a drug that is not a Schedule I drug. To correct the third error, we would tell the prescribing provider to consult the payer's allowed formulary to ensure that the drug is on the list of drugs that the payer will approve. Thank you for viewing my presentation.